Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Jashana here to talk about some friggin' books I read mostly in February. I have read nothing yet in March. I have not completed anything in March. I have 2 books that I read and 2 DNFs. I've had a streak of DNFs recently, unfortunately. The first one, I have DNF'd NetGalley e-arcs in the past, but in the past they were ones that like I had just had them for way too long. My ratio was not great for a little while. And they were just kind of random, obscure ones where I had gone on this like requesting spree and I probably should have been a bit more discerning, you know? So I have DNF'd them in the past. But on this one, this is a very anticipated fantasy, adult fantasy, and I've seen it on a lot of other people's lists as well. And I just was like, is it okay if I DNF this? And I put a little poll up on my Twitter and basically everybody was like, yeah, I mean, it's fair, it's fine. As long as you give it enough time, whatever. And I did. I gave this one, I think I got 20% of the way through it, if I remember correctly. It was like almost a month ago now. I can't quite recall. The book in question, though, is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. There's queer representation in here. It is set in, it's like a North African inspired world. We have a main character who is a soldier and she is sent to this land, and there's a princess as well who needs a spy, and things ensue from there. I just kind of wasn't vibing with, I think, the writing style. I definitely can see a lot of people enjoying this book. I didn't think it was poorly written, in my opinion, or anything like that. I wasn't incredibly annoyed with anything that was happening in the story or from the characters. It was all fine. It just, the writing style was feeling a bit clunky to me in some places, and kind of the plot, how it was all playing out. And it was just a little slow. I wasn't getting gripped by it. I was just reading it to try to get through it. And when I start feeling that way, I'm not usually going to push my way through. And I didn't want to push my way through. So I DNF'd this one, I am afraid. But if you're excited for it, I mean, I definitely would say still pick it up, check it out. Don't like decide you don't want to read it just because I DNF'd it. I'm kind of persnickety with my DNFs sometimes. So like I said, I definitely can see a lot of people really enjoying this one. It was a very cool world. I was very intrigued by the world and the representation we were seeing. So I encourage you to still check it out. Then I read a novella, Haunting of Tramcar 015 by Djeli Clarke. I read A Dead Djinn in Cairo in early February or in January. Yeah, the end of January. That's a short story. And then Haunting of Tramcar 015 is a shorter novella, and these are both in the same world leading up to Master of Djinn, a full-length novel that is coming out this year that I am actually currently reading the e-arc for, excitedly, but I am just really reading very slowly in the last couple of weeks due to moving and all of that. Anyway, Haunting of Tramcar 015. We follow different characters than in Dead Djinn in Cairo. We are following, what's his name? Hamad and Osiri? Osni. His partner, at any rate, who's a new recruit. And they are also in the, I can't remember the name of it now. God, this is I didn't take any notes. I have not had time or brain power. The, like, magical government agency that like monitors the magical beings and stuff. The same one that Fatma is in from Dead Djinn in Cairo. And Master of Djinn, which follows Fatma. But we do see Hamad as well. And it was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the characters as much as I enjoyed Fatma because I just adore her. But they were cool too, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. Novella, shorter still, so it wasn't my favorite thing ever. I mean, Ring Shout is also a novella, and that's one of my favorite things ever, but it's a very different story, a very different world, very different themes and everything. So I ended up giving this one a 3.5 Pushinicorns. Solid, enjoyed it. Definitely would recommend, prior to reading Master of Djinn, to read both of these. I mean, Dead Jin in Cairo is like 40-some pages. It's very short. It is literally a short story. And I can't remember how many pages Haunting of Tramcars 015 is, but it's a novella. It's quite short as well, so it won't take up a lot of your time, but you do kind of need a little bit of the backstory before getting to Master of Jin, I would say. You can read it without reading those, but it just won't be the same experience, I would say. The next book that I completed is Wild Seed by Octavia E. Butler. And this is a patternist novel, the first one. What is on here? And I will be continuing this. The blurb on the back of this one says, in an epic story of love and hate, two immortals chase each other across continents and centuries, binding their fates together and changing the destiny of the human race. We have Doro, who is an ancient spirit with boundless powers. He possesses people, and when he possesses them, he kills them. So it's kind of a serial killer. And he is doing this weird breeding program that's spanning centuries where he's trying to breed more people with powers. And these people basically worship him like a god and do whatever he says. So he has these little armies of puppets to just do whatever he wants. And then he meets Anyawu. And Anyawu is also an entity like Doro. She has some immortal stuff happening. She's been alive for hundreds of years, and she can basically shapeshift into anybody or anything, and she can heal herself from within and heal other people as well with her body and like the magic that's in her body. She can regenerate limbs and organs and cure diseases and whatever. And this spans from the villages of 17th century Nigeria to 19th century United States. So I read previously the trilogy, Imago, Dawn, and what's the other one? Adulthood Rites? I read it in the bind-up called Lilith's Brood by Octavia E. Butler. I didn't love any of those. I liked the first one, I think, the most. And then the second one was like, okay. And the third one I DNF'd. And it wasn't necessarily because I hated anything about it. Octavia Butler's writing style is very thought-provoking. It's very introspective, is what I call it. This very meditative, we're thinking a lot, very heady, slow, lots of themes happening here. Not a lot of super exciting stuff going on, but yeah, just lots of thought-provoking, introspective style of writing. And it's really good, like quality-wise, but it can be a bit slow for me personally sometimes, and a little bit much. It wasn't necessarily too much in this for me. I enjoyed these characters a lot. I enjoyed their dynamic and seeing it span over centuries. I enjoyed this a lot more than that other trilogy, and I think mostly because that other trilogy is so sci-fi with a lot more hard sci-fi jargon and concepts and just all the science of everything, and my brain just kind of checks out with that. So this, I mean, it's sci-fi, it's speculative, fantasy, whatever you want to call it. It's more fantasy to me than sci-fi. So I think it just works better for me as a story and with the characters. I still think I can only do books like this, writing styles like this, in doses. I don't think I could read back to back to back Octavia Butler. I would need a little bit more time in between because, yeah, it's just very moody, I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. I hope I'm explaining it sort of well. If you've read it, I'm sure you know what I mean. I ended up giving this one 4 Pushinicorns. And then the last one is the second DNF, and that is Romanov by Nadine Brandes. This was one of my seasonal TBR picks, and I got like halfway through it, I want to say. Yeah, I got to I won't spoil stuff, but I got about halfway through and just kind of didn't care anymore. This one follows Anastasia Romanov, and if you don't know, the Romanovs were the last royal family in Russia, and basically the people didn't think that Alexei, or Alexander, yeah, was her dad. Her brother was Alexei. Forgive my fucking ignorance of my pronunciations. But yeah, he was the Tsar, and the people didn't think he was a very good Tsar. And history shows that he kind of wasn't. He wasn't the best. He just was kind of an inept ruler. And Rasputin was about, and I've actually watched a documentary about Rasputin and the Romanov family, and it was heavily speculated. I can't recall, I mean, I haven't done a shit ton of research on the Romanovs. I'm very intrigued by them, though. But it was heavily speculated, at the very least, that Rasputin was having an affair with the Tsarina, with the wife of the Tsar. And he was just always around. And there were rumors of improper relationships with the younger girls, the children. Again, I'm not saying that this was all confirmed by historians or anything like that. I don't think it was. I think it's all speculation at this point. But not speculation that the Tsar wasn't a great Tsar. But the people rebelled, and they killed the entire family. They shot them. They shot everybody. But then there were rumors that Anastasia Romanov didn't actually die and was like out living in the world. And I mean, if you've seen the children's movie, it was one of my faves when I was a kid. Oh my God. I rewatched it recently, like last year, just for shits and giggles. But so it's following that story. But in this world, there is magic, and people can do spells and casting spells and whatnot. The first 100 or so pages, at least, because I read a little over 100 pages. It's all them. They're already in exile in the one place, and then they're there for quite a while, and then we move to Ekaterinburg. I'll be talking about like the historical stuff, so if you have no idea anything about the Romanovs, probably skip ahead, because in my head it's not spoilery because it's all historical stuff. That'd be like talking about the Titanic and being like, the boat sinks, and someone being like, you spoiled it. Like, I mean, the boat, it's historical fact, the boat sank. So I will be talking about the historical aspects, so if you don't know anything about them and you want to read this and you want to go in completely not knowing anything, skip ahead. But yeah, so we get to Ekaterinburg, and then we're just putzing around some more. It was just moving really slow for me, honestly. The writing was good. I was enjoying the writing style and all of that. But yeah, it was very slow. And then also, I was a little bit annoyed right at the beginning. Anastasia obviously loves her family. She loves her parents. So she doesn't think that they've done anything wrong, of course. So it was a little annoying having her be like, the people just don't know my family. My daddy would never do anything bad to hurt the people. And it's kind of like, girl, but maybe he did though? But then I was like, she loves her family. Of course she doesn't think that her parents did anything bad or whatever. But I kept waiting for this to be challenged or even questioned by anybody else, or have some, I kept thinking, oh, maybe she's gonna get to know, because it says in the synopsis, she gets to know one of the guards and they like have a little romance. So it's like, oh, maybe she'll get to know one of the guards and kind of have that little bubble burst slightly of realizing, oh, maybe my parents did kind of do some shitty things, perhaps. Then there's a scene where the whole thing with like Rasputin and her mom, and like, ooh, maybe they had an improper relationship, and she's like, my mother would never do that to my father. But then she goes and asks her mom about it, and I was like, okay, cool. Here's where we're gonna get a conversation about your parents might not be perfect. But no, her mom just gives a reason that's magical and makes her a martyr. Like, the justification that her mom gives, the secret of like why he was always coming to her chambers, just makes her look like a hero even more. Makes her literally a martyr. And I was just like, okay. Like, what? I don't know. I just thought it was a really interesting thing that we could have explored, of that childlike, you know, like when you meet your heroes and they're like shitty or whatever. Never meet your heroes because they'll let you down. Like, at some point you're going to learn that your parents aren't these perfect people that you think they are in your head. But like, no, she just kept on. Her mom was literally this saint from heaven. And I was was like, okay, whatever. So yeah, that combined with it just being so slow, I just kind of didn't care anymore. I skim read up to like 200 pages in after they get murdered and magical crap is happening. And I just was like, all right, I'm good. I can definitely see a lot of people enjoying this. It just wasn't for me. And there we have it. Let me know what you thought, if you have read any of these, or if you're interested in reading any of these. And leave a little emoji down below if you want to just say hello. Leave a... What should you leave? Leave... What's on here? It's kind of like an angel. Leave a little angel. It's not really an angel. It's like a mythological being, shapeshifter. But whatever, leave an angel. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.